Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Vancouver. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Gabe Carlton Barnes, and we are just about underway here in round 4. Josh Utter-Leyton, spelled with an E, versus Alexander Hayne on the right-hand side from Canada, of course. And one of the things that, how about we just take a look at Alex's hand, GCB. As you can see, immediately we have a player playing one of the decks that really made a stamp on the Pro Tour, Amulet Bloom.
It certainly caught me off guard. I knew Amulet was a card that could be abused, but I didn't realize the deck was going to be good enough to do that well on that big a stage. So it looks like he's got a couple of Summer Blooms here, a key card in the deck, and the bounce land as well. He's got a Simic Growth Chamber there. That's, of course, the interaction with Amulet and those two cards, but I don't see that last card in his hand up there at the top. He's got a Hive Mind as well.
It is another land. I didn't see which one it was.
Yep. So it looks like he's missing some pieces here.
He's definitely missing some pieces. So it looks like Josh is just going to take away the Hive Mind here, which means that Alex, while he is going to get to ramp out a bunch of lands with his pair of Summer Blooms, he's not going to be able to ramp into anything relevant until he can find something. So he's going to pass the turn back here after playing the Growth Chamber, just setting up his mana. He knows he's not in a hurry now. And now the ball is back in Josh Utter-Leyton's court. He needs to start applying pressure here with his Abzan list, as he knows that the shields are down currently for Alex.
Right, and actually it looks like that last card was an Azusa Lost but Seeking, so without using up any resources, Alex is going to be able to get a whole lot of lands in play. So he just needs to find a threat, something that'll take action. And Josh, of course, needs to get a clock on him to hurry that process.
That's right. So, now, Alexander Hayne on his side of the board, the primary threat in this deck is Primeval Titan. Primeval Titan enables him to go off, as we say. He basically gets so many great interactions with these bounce lands like you see here, and cards like the card he already bounced back to his hand, Teleria West, along with a few other cool sort of creature enhancing lands, that he gets multiple activations off of the Primeval Titan. And on top of that, the Titan's huge. Like, I think people forget a lot that, that Primeval Titan just does good work as a 6/6 and sometimes even bigger in this deck, Trampler. By the way, here's Azusa Lost but Seeking, just dumping the rest of Alexander Hayne's lands onto the battlefield here. It looks like that last card was a Gemstone Mine.
Yeah, so he drew Gemstone Mine, and then he has Teleria West, and he's got a ton of mana in play. Of course, we have Josh Utter-Leyton. So Josh sort of crossing his fingers and hoping that Alex doesn't get any action soon.
Yeah, I think he's just going to play a Lingering Souls here.
Start attacking. So the interesting thing about the Primeval Titan too is a lot of cards that search your deck for lands, they search up basic lands. Primeval Titan searches up any land. So you see all those crazy utility lands in Alex's deck that can do all sorts of different things. You mentioned Teleria West, of course. He's got an interesting collection of pacts in there, those 0 mana spells that you have to pay for the next turn. So Teleria West can tutor those up, and he can tutor up a Teleria West with his Primeval Titan, and tutor up a bounce land, one of the double lands from Ravnica block, and bounce that Teleria West, and then cycle it. Or is that what the ability is called? Cycling? It's called
Transmute.
Transmute.
Super cycling.
Super cycling. Tutor cycling.
Indeed. All right, so here is a Gruul Turf for Alexander Hayne, but remember, thanks to Azusa, he has extra land drops, and bang, there it is. Primeval Titan. A few turns later than you normally see it from this deck, but no matter. Alexander Hayne is going to be thrilled to have the big threat on the battlefield. And let's see what he can do with it, because what he's going to have to do here is he's going to have to assume that this Primeval Titan is going to get, say, Path to Exiled or something along those lines. And he's going to go get lands that are going to enable him to, like you said, maybe dig up a pact or do something else further than just make a Primeval Titan.
Right, and you say a few turns later, I think this is turn 4 here. So this is a turn 4 Primeval Titan, still pretty good. And interesting to see how this deck operates when it doesn't draw Amulet of Vigor, the card which gives the deck its name. The ability to just play multiple lands and then get out a Primeval Titan, pretty good. So it looks like, what has he got there?
He's got Boros Garrison and a second Simic Growth Chamber. And he's going to return his Gemstone Mine and his Teleria West to his hand. Now remember, these enter the battlefield tapped, and they're going to stay that way. There's no Amulet in play. Sometimes it's easy to watch this deck go and just assume it always has that Amulet, but as you mentioned a minute ago, he's having to work without it this time, so he's basically a turn slower at every step than he normally would be here.
or more even. You know, 'cause
Yes.
you can't do that thing where you just play double lands and bounce them just to sort of Dark Ritual up mana as
Exactly.
sort of classic card.
So he's definitely slower, and you know what? I think things look actually decent for him here because Josh doesn't seem to have the path. Do you see one in his
I
hand?
don't. I see a lot of Lingering Souls
And lands.
Yeah, and lands. And some of those lands are good lands. He's got the Gavany Township.
Yes.
So he could actually put out a pretty quick clock, but it's not going to be quick enough for Primeval Titan tutoring up, you know, lands that give double strike.
Yeah, Slayer's Stronghold and Sunhome. That's kind of the combo that can make short work of Josh Utter-Leyton's life total here. This is interesting.
And here comes another Lingering Souls, and
This is just not what Josh had in mind. Now, like you mentioned, the Gavany Township is certainly going to help next turn as it can make 8 power in the air. I just don't think it's going to be fast enough. You know, one thing that Alexander's deck does a pretty good job of is not hurting itself.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
see these fetch land and shock land based mana bases, they'll do a pretty good job on their life total and really kind of help you out here.
Right.
But Alex's deck doesn't do that. He doesn't run that type of mana base, and you can see he's at a comfortable 18, having only taken 2 from the spirits.
Yes, and you might think that looking at this, that maybe it looks like Alex is just going to be able to attack with his Primeval Titan and win this turn, or he can give it 8 power and then double strike, and he can trample over the spirits for almost lethal, plus attacking with his other creature. However, the land that Josh Utter-Leyton played is a sack land, meaning he can go get a white source, and Alex doesn't know he doesn't have a path. So Alex is going to, you know, think that through, play conservatively probably. I think
Probably just going to get a Pact of Negation here,
yeah,
right?
so that looks like what's happening.
Yeah.
He's tutoring up his Pact of Negation. He got that Teleria West back next turn. We get to see all the tricks that deck has in it. Josh, I'm sure, is
He's got a Summoner's Pact here. Looks like he's
Okay.
going to go longer game, more resilient here.
okay.
And he's going to fire it off right now as well, just to save time for shuffling. Thanks for that, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's another copy of Primeval Titan.
Go figure.
Yep. And a shocking twist. And he's just going to run out the second Primeval Titan here. And again, without bothering to shuffle, we're now 3 potential shuffles deep here, but
Saving us some time. Yeah, and you can see that he had a mana floating from having tapped 2 Simic Growth Chambers to transmute the Teleria West. So that's why he doesn't have to have mana.
speaking of Teleria West,
Here comes another one.
and like you said, this is the engine. You know, this is where he can get going, and you can see what he's doing here. He can now return that Teleria West to his hand to live to transmute once again.
Absolutely. And
It's a beautiful thing.
keep in mind, he has a lot more lands coming to play this turn. He's got the Titan going there.
This is hilarious. He has literally played this whole turn with his library in his hand.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey, you want to save some time?
I'll shuffle eventually.
Yeah. And no fetch land, right?
Yeah.
It's just like pack, transmute, play a Titan, activate a Titan. And you can see how explosive this deck can be if his own devices. I mean, all he needed to do was find Summoner's Pact or a Titan or even another copy of Hivemind maybe would have done it as well. And we're off to the races here. And this is the thing that the Abzan deck doesn't do, right? It doesn't go over the top.
Right.
It's not a deck that is capable of doing broken, what we call unfair things in this format. It does very fair things. When you see what Alexander Hayne's doing, if you consider this fair, I do not want to play Magic against you anytime soon.
Right. One of the most unfair things you can do in Magic is search your library for a card. He's doing that repeatedly. Another really unfair thing you can do is put more than 1 land into play each turn. He's doing that. So he's
breaking rules here. Yeah,
lot
you
of breaking rules.
You've put that really well. I've never quite thought of it in those terms, but it's absolutely correct.
And you can see the board state. It looks crazy.
Borderline laughable.
Yeah, he's got 9 lands in play.
And almost like half of them make 2 mana each.
Yeah. So what is Josh looking at here? What are his outs?
He's dead.
Yeah, I don't think he has a way to win this game.
He just doesn't have those over-the-top plays. They don't run sweepers or anything like that. His deck is designed to use his cards on a 1-for-1 basis with your cards while gradually creeping ahead in that race and applying pressure to you. And when you play a card like Primeval Titan that effectively nets you 4 cards here, 5 cards, I don't know how many.
You get a chance to attack with it. It's pretty big, yeah.
I mean, now all of a sudden Alex has pulled so far ahead. Remember his opener?
Yeah.
Summer Bloom lands.
And the Hivemind.
And which got taken away.
Yeah.
It's like nothing. He had nothing going, and the one Primeval Titan later, and this game's just about done. So Josh is going to, give it a puncher's chance here and go ahead and battle with his spirits.
And he's bluffing that he has 2 paths in his hand, which would allow him to win, but I don't know that the bluff really achieves much. Alex is certainly going to attack his Primeval Titans regardless.
Yeah, so Alex knows that he doesn't have 2 paths, but...
One of the outs here was that Alex might choose not to pay for his pact.
Right.
But it looks like he's done that.
A choice unworthy of a multiple GP champion like Alexander Hayne, as he deemed it.
And a Pro Tour, as he's won a Pro Tour.
It's true. Yep, that is true.
So this game actually started out pretty well for Josh. What he wanted to have happen happened, which is he took away the threats. Alex's deck is a little threat light, and he was able to Thoughtseize the only threat, but he didn't have a fast clock, and Alex did find another threat quickly. And Josh did not find another answer.
There's the Pact of Negation that we were thinking last turn. Alex wanted to set up the win this turn.
Around Josh potentially having a removal as well.
Exactly.
He knew he needed to make sure he had threats, so he understands that threat density is an issue for this deck. So it looks like Alex is going to walk away with this one. We'll see what Josh maybe has out of the sideboard to combat this strategy.
He's got some main deck cards that do a pretty darn decent job of combating the strategy. He just didn't draw any. Lingering Souls, oh yeah, Azusa getting in the red zone. I like that.
Yeah, might as well.
Take some general damage, Josh Utter-Leyton.
Yep.
Not much left of the library here.
Now he's putting
for Alex, and he's got
everything
a
out.
Colony Garden and a Radiant Fountain. These are just a couple of value lands that help him out against burn heavy decks for the fountain, and of course the and it looks like Josh has seen enough.
Yep.
And the plant token's actually pretty nice too against Liliana, and it also can just chump block a big threat for a turn. Sometimes you only need one more turn. There's our feature match area, and this is pretty interesting. You see Canada versus United States on both of our matches here.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a lot of Canada versus United States with Vancouver being so close to the border.
That's right.
Although it's pretty much all United States in the booth.
It is. Yeah. Interestingly, though, we do have 2 Canadian Pro Tour champions in our feature match area here, as you see, and lots of top 8s between the 2 of them. I believe 6 between those 2 gentlemen, maybe 7. And no Pro Tour wins, though.
No wins. Not yet. I would not be surprised to see either of those guys take down a Pro Tour at some point. And you mentioned Colony Garden. It's sort of interesting in this deck. It can even attack because you have those lands that can give your creatures power.
You can Slayer's Stronghold to give it Vigilance, Haste, and +2/+0, and then you can give it Double Strike with Sun Home.
Yeah, that's got to be...
Take 4 from my plant.
That's a rough way to go. Somebody gets you with the
I don't know if I want to see that. It sounded cool when you said it, but now I just feel too bad.
You could also Vesuva, the +2/+0 land. You get a little bigger. I mean, that thing could really do some beat. The Slayer Stronghold. Yeah, really beat down. Well, gosh, really interesting deck to
now
watch.
I know why we have you in the booth, GCB. You see all the angles.
Yeah, all the angles. The fun angles,
yeah.
Certainly. So we can see these guys look through their sideboards. They probably both know exactly what they want to do in these matchups, since these decks were featured so heavily in the Pro Tour.
Interestingly, speaking of the Pro Tour, they tested together.
Did they?
Yeah. The face-to-face games team joined up with Team Channel Fireball for this last Pro Tour, and they got to test together.
Well, how big was that team, do you think, in the end?
20 players.
20, that's a lot.
It was absurd.
Yeah.
It actually worked out fine, though. They both teams were quite happy with the arrangement afterwards. I mean, there was definitely a chance that they walk away from the Pro Tour going, all right, 20's a bit much.
Yeah.
We've got multiple teams, we've got all these kind of factions and groups, and it probably could have been too much, but it turns out it wasn't. Like, they both felt like they benefited mutually from the arrangement. So.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things with the big teams is they often try to set size limits because they find, when it gets too big, there's a lot of logistical issues. So maybe since it was 2 teams uniting, did they all stay in the same house, or did they get 2 houses? How did they practice together?
Well, they kind of came in at different times.
Right.
So I don't know that they were all together at the same place for very long. Same area, though, for sure.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, imagine going to dinner. I'd like a reservation for 20.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wouldn't want to be the one to make that phone call.
Well, that's one of the things about the team experiences. There's a bit of a formulaic way that it's done. You find a certain group of core players, and then a rotating group that comes in and out that are qualified sometimes. You try to keep the size. I think teams go for around 10 to 15 usually, and there's a lot of things that go along with that. Where do you stay? How many people can you have giving input and still be able to process all of the input? And how do you go out to dinner together? And maybe some of these teams are just saying, well, I don't know if those logistics are that important. Maybe we don't have to stay all in the same house. Maybe we can go to dinner 2 different places.
Yeah, it's funny, and we saw other teams take a completely different tact as well at the Pro Tour. With the new, they were calling themselves Teamwork. And they didn't get together at all. They tested exclusively on Magic Online and offline with each other over Skype and using Facebook and that kind of thing.
Wow.
And how do we do dinner? Well, you make some dinner for yourself and then go back to your computer. So they took that completely off the table as well. So it's interesting to see how these teams kind of evolve.
And they called it Teamwork, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, so that's exactly it for me. That sounds like work. Doesn't sound like as much fun.
Yeah, that does
getting into the house together and all drafting together.
Yeah.
That's, I think, to me, an important part of the romance of the Pro Tour experience.
I think you're right. And I think that a lot of the guys that are on these bigger teams would agree with you. I've heard a lot of them talk about, well, what does it take to get on one of these teams? And a lot of times they'll say, well, you have to be friends with us, meaning a nice person, somebody that we want to be around primarily. Like, yes, you could be one of the better Magic players around, but if you're just not a likable person, they don't want you around because it wrecks that dynamic that you were just describing.
Yeah, exactly. And dealing with that many people for a week, all sort of intensely trying to prepare for something, and everyone with their own quirks, it can be interesting. Looks like we're about shuffled up here.
I wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall for some of those testing houses,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the old play the game, see the world thing too. You go out there and you spend some time with people.
It's true. All right, so let's get ready for game number 2. Game number 1 started off quite well for Josh Utter-Leyton. He got a chance at Thoughtseize and leave Alex with not a lot of action going.
And it immediately turned around.
And then just got crushed. So we will see how things progress in this game. Josh is going to actually adjust his keep here.
Yeah, he had what would be probably a pretty good hand against a lot of decks. It looked like he had a Noble Hierarch and maybe a Lingering Souls and a Path. Not quite enough to disrupt what Alex is doing. He wants more disruption and a bigger clock. And who knows, maybe he has something else interesting. We can have a look at these sideboards. He does have 4 Fulminator Mage in his sideboard. I wonder if he brings that in here.
I would assume so.
Last game you saw Alex Hayne play a land and then immediately play a Simic Growth Chamber and bounce that land, and the next turn use that 2 mana from the Growth Chamber and another land to play a Zusa. If that had been Fulminator Mage, the double land, Alex would have been in trouble. Is that a 1-lander?
It was. It is now part of the past.
Josh goes to 5.
Now, this might seem terrible for Josh, but it's actually not the end of the world. If he can find, say, a pair of disruption spells out of these 5 cards to keep Alex off balance, he can buy himself a lot of time.
Yeah, you think if he draws, 2 lands, a Tarmogoyf, a Thoughtseize, and something else good, he's going to be happy. So that's kind of the hand he's looking for.
Yep. Being on the play is nice here as well, as it can put Alex in an interesting position with regards to when he wants to play his Amulet of Vigor. You don't want to let Josh just snap it off on his second turn with Abrupt Decay. Sometimes you'll see the Amulet players sandbag, hold it in their hand a little bit longer until they can play it for more effect in one turn and at least get something out of it, some mana out of it before it gets destroyed if it's going to anyway.
Right. And Josh in the position, what has he got here? He does have the Thoughtseize in the Tarmogoyf, but no lands to go with them.
Yeah, super rough draws here for Josh Utter-Leyton. He's going down to 4 here.
I think sometimes when people go to 4, it's really, obviously, it's tough for them to get their hand together, but sometimes they're the most interesting games. You know, the person in the other seat thinking to themselves, well, gosh, I'm probably going to win this. But who knows, maybe Alex we didn't get a good look at his hand. Maybe he kept something that isn't that great.
Yeah.
And maybe Josh finds just the right cards, and all of a sudden Alex on his heels thinking, oh God, how can I lose when I'm up 3 cards? Kind of like those games sometimes. So Josh crosses his fingers. And no lands in that hand either.
Wow.
He does have a hierarch and a path. I wonder if he's thinking his best chance here is to draw a land.
How good is Path against Alex? It's okay. It's kind of a card you need necessarily in your list. I don't know if you want it in your opener, especially if you can't cast it. And Raptor is going to 3 here.
Going to 3. That is a rough start. And you know, it's not the kind of deck that really you expect to mulligan that much. It's got a healthy dose of land. It's got a lot of redundant cards, a lot of cheap spells. So
yeah, really. Like the only expensive spells are Sea Draggers.
Right. Yeah.
Everything else in this deck costs 3, 2, or 1. And there's a lot of 1s and 2s as well. It's just Lingering Souls up at 3.
And the top end seems to be activating Gavoni Township.
Liliana. Yeah, Gavony Township's easily the most expensive thing that you do. Huh. Yeah, no, you're right. This is not how this normally goes.
Josh, you know, he had a hand with spells and lands in his first 7, and he threw it back because it wasn't good against Alex's deck. And that may end up looking bad if Josh, you know, can't pull this out. But I still think that it's the correct decision because that's a hand that's going to lose anyway. So
percent chance he keeps this hand? Just 100? Like going to 2 is just not a thing.
If there's no land, he's going to mulligan. That is great.
Ooh.
Great hand. Oh my gosh.
So turn 0, Leyline of Sanctity for Alexander Hayne. And he's even going to just do them disservice of Vesuva, copy your land.
And Josh kept a hand which was 2 lands and an Inquisition. And then he didn't get to fire off the Inquisition because of the Leyline.
So you got to figure that at this point, Alex is looking at this scenario and saying, I've got time.
Yes.
You can't hit my hand. Obviously, the Abzan deck doesn't have anything in the way of counter spells or anything like that. So now Alex just has to consider the clock he's under, which is a very small one, only 1 a turn currently. And he can just go off. Uh-oh. Ooh. No, that wasn't a bounce land, so it could have been worse for Josh Utter-Leyton.
And Alex did play, Vesuva copying your land is a bit of a strange start. And I was thinking maybe Alex is light on land. It doesn't look like he is, though. And so here comes
just wanted to get that tap land out of the way? All right.
Is that a Titan that Alex just drew?
This could be a short game if that's the case.
Yeah, and we'll see in a moment here if he does have any 2-mana lands. So you start to do the tapping that indicates I am counting something. Josh is over there imagining scenarios in which he can win the game, so he can try to see if he can get to that point.
Ancient Stirrings here for Alex Hayne. You know, Alex wins GPs in Canada a lot. He defends his home turf in kind of a uncanny way.
I have to respect that.
We saw him win 2 of them.
Yeah.
A season ago.
Now,
on his way to winning 3 total.
Which ones were they? Do you remember?
Montreal and Vancouver.
So he won this tournament last year.
Yep.
It was a different format. I believe it was standard.
Standards. Yep. He was playing Esper.
Right. Took place in this very room.
He also got second at a GP Montreal before he won the Pro Tour.
Right.
Yeah. He defends his home turf. All right, now he gets to start developing his land further, though not a lot. He actually didn't do a whole lot there. He just played Growth Chamber, triggered his Amulet of Vigor, picked up his Gemstone Mine, and shift the turn back to Josh.
His draw is not explosive. It has the Amulet, but it doesn't have any of the cards to allow him to play multiple lands. And so, you know, if Josh had a better hand, you know, it looks like this game really could have been to his advantage.
Totally.
Instead, he's not only mulliganed to 3, but had another card taken away by the Leyline, and any discard spells he draws are not had because Alex can't be targeted. Looks like that might be a Lingering Souls.
I think it was, which would be very nice here.
Yeah, it's
Now he's one Gabony Township away from a real clock.
Yep.
And actually forcing the issue on Alex.
So we'll see if Alex's hand is as awkward as we thought it might be. When he started out the game by copying his opponent's land with a Vesuva. Not something you usually see.
No. Though I suppose if you plan on picking up your Vesuva later at some point, you live with it.
Absolutely.
And the counting fingers have returned for Alexander Hayne.
That is a Primeval Titan in his hand. So he's in a situation where he's got exactly 5 mana.
Yep, he's got 5 mana for the Thragdad. Thragtuskus here.
I remember this guy.
Yeah?
Speaking of old standard formats.
No kidding. So Alex is sideboarded into his Thragtusk plan. I know that these decks often will run a Wormcoil Engine in there as well, which are, those are pretty good against the Abzan deck. I mean, sure, Path to Exile is pretty annoying against Wormcoil Engine, but otherwise it's tough to deal with. So, play the 2-for-1 game in the other direction, as it turns out.
Yeah, if their advantage, of course, is the ability to generate a lot of mana and then to play better mid-range cards against a mid-range deck is a great plan. Looks like Josh did draw a Tarmogoyf, allowing him to really put some pressure on the table now.
This is interesting. Yeah, he's actually been able to flashback Lingering Souls and play Goyf this turn.
Unfortunately,
Goyf is a 2/3. No, make that a 3/4.
A 3/4, but that's Summoner's Pact, and this is the turn where Alex can, if he plays another double land, it's going to come and play untapped, and he's going to play that Primeval Titan.
This is where he turns the corner.
Yeah. So, and here's the Vesuva copying a double land. Comes back to his hand. Titan comes into play.
Bang! There it is, Primeval Titan, and now we're off to the races here. Alexander Hayne has the full combo going here. He's got the Amulet of Vigor, and he's got the Primeval Titan in effect, and he's going to look to slam the door on poor Josh Utter-Leyton, who had the mulligan all the way to 3 cards this game. He's going to activate Slayer's Stronghold before picking it up, so now the Primeval Titan is going to get +2/+0, Vigilance and Haste, and he's going to crunch in there.
You see Alex
13.
again with the I'm not going to look at my library.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shuffle my library.
Nice time saver.
Yep.
And here comes another pair of lands for Alex as he starts to shut the door further on Josh Utter-Leyton.
You'll note that he makes sure to get another green land into play here so that he doesn't die to a land destruction spell when he has to play Summoner's Pact the next turn.
Very important.
Very important.
Especially as Josh Utter-Leyton does have access to Fulminator Mage.
He certainly does.
He's going to gain a couple of life with Radiant Fountain.
And there it is. You see he has the Growth Turf and 2 Simic Growth Chambers. Losing any one of those would be okay. He'd still be able to pay for Primeval Titan. Or for Summoner's Pact, rather. So this looks like it's going to wrap up pretty quick. I think the way that Josh gets himself into this game is we haven't seen Alex search up any pacts at this point.
It is true, and there's no Teleria West to be seen here, so he's going to quadruple block.
And I like this.
I like it too.
Yeah, you got to get that Primeval Titan off the table, and this is the way to do it. So it looks like it's going to knock out all
the Goyf and 2 of the spirits.
Well, it's got 2 extra power, doesn't it?
Oh, of course it does. So it's just everything.
Just everything, yeah.
Either way, it wasn't going to be good for Josh.
It was enough power to kill the Titan. That part is good for Josh.
It's very good for
It's rough to watch him throw away multiple cards to kill one after that mulligan, though. Or that collection of mulligans. Alex Hayne discards.
Discards to hand size?
Discards to hand size. And
Urborg off the top?
not what Josh Utter-Leyton is looking
Raptor, yeah, that isn't it. I frankly don't know what it is. Suppose a chain of siege rhinos would be fine here. I don't think it wins him the game.
I don't think so either.
All right, here's the upkeep pact payment incoming here from Hayne.
Let's see, he makes sure to do that.
I figured that out.
And here, again, he's got 6 mana again if he's got another Titan, because of how this deck takes advantage of that Titan when it first gets it. It just spills so much mana on the table. So, if this were a Magic Online match, who would have more time on the clock at this point?
I think Josh would be comfortably in the lead.
I think the only time that he has spent is thinking about his mulligans.
That's right.
Mostly. And Alex's turns have been quite complicated.
Alex does enjoy playing these kind of complicated puzzle type decks.
Yeah, lots and lots of resources.
He loves it. He's right in his element here.
Yeah, he's showing a huge advantage on the board and a huge number of cards in hands, but there's a lot of lands in there. It's like additional Amulets of Vigor don't do much.
This one's not bad.
That's a pretty good one.
So Summoner's Pact is going to find a second copy of Primeval Titan, the other one, in the board. He's going to play this, tap it for mana, bounce it back to his hand, tap the other two, and play a Primeval Titan. So down that
Titan
comes, and here we go once again. This is what this deck does. It's just going to start chaining these things together now. And I think Josh knows that the writing's on the wall here. His chances of actually winning this game have sunk to, you know, a couple of percent or less. So
they're at
he's
0.
just dead here.
Alex might not know that because Josh still has 2 cards in his hand. But you can see Alex goes and gets a Teleria West with his Titan. It untaps, produces mana, bounces back to his hand with the Growth Chamber. The Growth Chamber also untaps, produces 2 more mana. Those are used to cycle the Teleria West, and now he's got another Pact. So he has another backup search for a Titan.
And once again, he's forced to discard the hand size, but he's not too worried about it. And that's going to do it. Josh Utter-Leyton concedes the game to Alexander Hayne with a smile on his face in his home country, though he's not from this part of Canada.
He's not.
No, he's from the eastern part of Canada as opposed to out west where we are here in Vancouver, but he's still got to be happy about it. And poor Josh had a reasonable game 1, but ultimately lost. And Mulligan to 3 was pretty much nails in the coffin for Josh, who managed to make a nice little start out of it, but ultimately couldn't keep up with Alex.
No, and you know, the very consistent deck was not consistent that time. So that was a little bit rough.
By the way,
for
that
Josh to
is
see.
David Ochoa back there.
There
for
he
those
is.
of you that don't recognize him. He's got hair now.
Yeah, when did that
flow.
happen?
Last month or so.
Yeah? Do you think it's real?
It's real. I've touched it.
You touched it, you had to verify?
It's real, yeah. Confirmed. Whoa, what do we got going here for the Ocho? He looks like he's got Sigarda, host of Herons, on the battlefield.
That's a fun one.
That's a real good card, and you do see it pop up in the sideboards of modern decks sometimes because it's effectively impossible to kill unless they have some type of sweeper effect.
Right.
He's also got Scavenging Ooze, which looks like it's gobbled up a creature. Did David just give him his card? What was that?
I'm
he
not
gave
sure
him
how-
his draw step. I think he just handed
he
it.
handed his draw step to him?
I
That's
think
funny.
he did. Anyway, Lingering Souls adding to the board, flash it back.
You see here, it looks
But there is a Gavany Township down there, and that will eventually overwhelm Sigarda. So
Yeah.
Ochoa, even though he's got one of the best blockers and flying creatures in the format, is going to fall behind to Township if he can't find an answer to that.
Yeah, and the key point here is that David Ochoa's life total's at 9, Sean McLaren at 20.
Right.
So Sean obviously going to go wide, as we say, get as many creatures in play as he can, and just try to alpha strike David to death.
He's not doing bad at that either, is he? 7
yeah,
of them.
yeah, a lot.
He's also got 10 power.
It looks like he's drawn 2 Lingering Souls this game, so that's gonna matter.
Yeah, these Abzan decks that want to grind it out, these Lingering Souls are huge.
Yeah,
I see a wild Tom Martell in the background there, probably tweeting about either how he crushed somebody or a salty "I just got crushed" from Martell. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll be familiar with both.
yeah, absolutely. So it looks like Sean McLaren is also holding Tassiger.
The
He has a
Banana
pretty good
Man's in
plan this
hand.
game. Yep,
He's got 2 of them.
yep. 2 Tassigers.
A little awkward, but
Oh, that'll help Ochoa's plan.
wow! Fulminator Mage for Ochoa means that now he has stabilized, and he's even got his own copy of Lingering Souls here.
So
We got a game.
we certainly do have a game. McLaren still can go around Ochoa, but not for 9 damage.
No, because Ochoa can trade off a couple of spirits for a couple of spirits, and then those 2-powered spirits just start getting gobbled up.
Yeah, absolutely. He is going to try it, though.
This will not stop Sean McLaren.
Nope.
Remember, Ochoa is at 9.
So if Ochoa makes the safe blocks here, he's going to take
2, 4, 5, 6.
6 damage and be at 3. That's a pretty tough spot to be in.
It is, though I will note here that Ochoa has options. He's got Scavenging Ooze, which can now eat the Fulminator Mage, plus maybe there's other stuff that we can't quite see.
Yep.
He's also got a Stirring Wildwood hiding down in his mana base that's a reach creature that can jump up and eat another. Now, looking over at Sean's side, he's got his own copy of Tectonic Edge to take care of that problem. So that's not going to be a long-term solution for Ochoa, but he does have some options here.
You see Ochoa actually chump blocks one of the larger spirits. So
Interesting.
He's preserving his life total a little bit here.
But at the deficit of letting McLaren keep one of his spirits.
Exactly. And so I'm not sure if there's a specific card that he's trying to play around there to avoid going down to 3. Perhaps he's simply done the math on next turn I'm getting attacked and I can block 1 creature. He's going to have to remove at least 1 flyer, and then he can take the 3/1/1s.
And here he is. Tasigur the Golden Fang has arrived. You know, it's seen a little bit of play in Standard. It's here and there. But in Modern,
it's all over the place.
This card is so easy to get on the battlefield, and we've seen it quite a bit. Now, people aren't running 4 of this card, at least not yet. But seeing 1 to 2 of them in decks like this is very common now. It's standard practice at this point.
And it's a great card. You know, it has card advantage built in. It has the ability to play very, very cheaply if you've got a lot of cards in the graveyard to make 2 plays in a turn. You can always do that thing like you see Sean McLaren's done here, where he leaves 4 mana up so he can activate it right away and get an effect off of it. Yeah. Also, stands up to a Sea Trino.
It does, which is one of the only creatures that does that. It's just huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, another Lingering Souls here for Ochoa.
So you see what Ochoa is
He's going to flash it back as well.
Yep. So he says, flashback, it's your turn.
Oh, I think you give him the Path to Exile here.
Yeah.
Although, actually, wait.
No.
Maybe I shouldn't say that, because if he kills a spirit with Maelstrom Pulse, it'll also kill all of his. So the only real target left is actually Scavenging Ooze, which doesn't seem to be a huge deal here.
However, Ochoa's a little bit tight on mana. I think he'd be happy to see that path. Well, not happy to see it played, but he prefers to actually get something out of it.
Okay.
Although it does allow Sean McLaren also to get enough mana out that he can activate his Tasigur. Whereas Maelstrom Pulse would have meant he had to play land. He does have the land, so that ends up being irrelevant. Ochoa's chump block last turn makes a little bit more sense knowing he has a second Lingering Souls and knows he's going to be able to get more creatures in play. His life total becomes something he wants to preserve a little bit more. Maybe later he draws a sack land. He wants to go get a shock land with it and go to exactly 1. He's going to need that life point.
There's a Goyf and an Abrupt Decay off of Tasigur's latest activation.
And Goyf comes back to his hand. Tasigur is just going to take over this game really fast.
No kidding. There's that Tarmogoyf.
That is a lot of card advantage out of 1 card.
No kidding.
And it's a 4/5 body.
Thoughtseize off the top for Ochoa is definitely not what he was hoping to see here.
Certainly not. He wants to impact the board.
He's got an Inquisition, though. At least he can play that. He knows what he's getting. Or at least he knows 1 card he could get, that Path.
He knows there's a target for it, at least.
Exactly.
Now Ochoa he's holding, is it 2 Thoughtseizes and an Abrupt Decay. Now the Abrupt Decay, of course, a handy mid-combat effect, but it's not stopping that Tasigur. Ochoa's thinking maybe that he has to become the aggressor here, but he's really not in a position to be able to do that. So, still pass the turn.
Yep, brutal spot here for David Ochoa, who, by the way, is down a game.
He is down a game. Is it Thoughtseize? You know, we saw it on that list of the top 15 cards, and it is an incredible card. it's useful basically all the time. There's always a card you want to take away from your opponents if you have it early. But in a situation like this, when he's at 4 life, and his opponent's hand is pretty empty, it's just a redundant Tassiger. It's so painful to draw that card.
All right, so here comes the big blocks now from David Ochoa, who is getting attacked with the entire squad here from Sean McLaren, looking to close the door on this early game here in Vancouver.
So you can see Ochoa knows he's going to have to block that Tassiger with the Scavenging Ooze because he has an Abrupt Decay, so he can take out the Tarmogoyf.
Now Ochoa, remember, also has Scavenging Ooze active here, and this is a big deal because he can also just strip away all the relevant cards for Tassiger and make that flip a lot more random.
Also, he can shrink the Tarmogoyf if he can get enough and gain life. So Scavenging Ooze is showing his value here. It looks like
he's got 4 green mana available here as well.
So maybe what his plan here is to activate Scavenging Ooze twice, make it a 5/5 so that it can block and kill Tassiger. So great that he took that path away. And then he's going to exile, he's going to Abrupt Decay possibly the Tarmogoyf so he doesn't take damage from it. And that gives him a card that he can give back to McLaren that can't kill the Scavenging Ooze because the Tarmogoyf is going to be in the graveyard.
Go Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, doing a lot of work.
But before it does, Goyf down.
Goyf is down.
And Goyf gets immediately eaten. And there's that Fulminator Mage is going to get gobbled up by the Scavenging Ooze as well, so that brings it up to a 5/5.
Right, so it looks like he needed another creature to target.
He did. That's why he used the Abrupt Decay, huh? Because he didn't actually have to, but...
I was thinking that he might avoid Tassiger being able to get a removal spell by leaving that Goyf into the graveyard, but he couldn't afford to do that. However, Sean McLaren does not activate Tassiger. And look at this. Suddenly Ochoa looks like he's in this game.
He absolutely... Look at this board state.
Yeah.
Ochoa has maneuvered this beautifully, and he had to play around Siege Rhino.
There's the reason earlier that he made the chump block and stayed at 4 life, of course. The Siege Rhino.
Wow, this has been insane. Super tight play here from Ochoa. Can he scrap his way back out? It looked horrible when we came in to see. McLaren had 7 1/1 flying spirit tokens and an active Gavany Township.
But you'll notice the really spectacular thing that's happening right now is the way both of these players are using every mana every turn.
Every single, squeezing it out.
Yep.
And there's more green mana now for Ochoa, who passes the turn back and looks like Tassiger could take over again here.
So where Sean McLaren is drawing Siege Rhinos, David Ochoa is drawing lands at just the wrong time.
Yeah.
And he really needs to be able to remove Tassiger because the card's just going to take over.
All right, so this is with the Tassiger ability on the stack. Ochoa is going to munch away those removal spells.
Yep.
And try to make Sean flip up something like a path.
So of course he's hoping he just flips 2 lands, so he doesn't have to give him anything. And does he? He does.
Did flip 2 lands. He doesn't get anything back.
He's just holding on just the edge,
Wow, and Sean's going to pass the turn, though he can activate Tassiger on end step here again. I believe he's got enough green mana. Yeah, that's a Temple Garden there, and he can go fetch something.
And Ochoa's drawing another land.
So, bummer.
So Ochoa hanging on to his last 2 life. He can block the creatures if they attack. He's got board dominance with the creatures, but he can't start attacking.
But barely.
Yeah, just barely. His Stirring Wildwood isn't really doing anything for him because of that Tectonic Edge sitting over there. In the meantime, Sean McLaren's in no rush to kill it because he's using that Tectonic Edge to activate Tassiger to get more card advantage.
That's right. Let's see what Tassiger hits here. It could be the game. There's no window for Ocho to take the cards that Tassiger mills, right?
Right.
So
what happens is the mill and the choice happen all as one effect, so there's no time for either player to have priority to change anything. I'm sure that Ochoa wishes there were.
Indeed. So it looks like Sean and David are making sure that life totals are properly synced up here.
Yep. Perhaps something to do with the Siege Rhino.
Down to 17
Right. I was taking 3 untapped overgrown tomb for McLaren.
Yeah, so we'll get that straightened out. I think the life total issue is probably McLaren's life total. I think everyone's pretty sure about David's.
Indeed.
It's a key strategic point. Oh, wow. Is that a Thoughtseize?
It's a Thoughtseize, but it's also... but that was lucky. If it was land Abrupt Decay, he wouldn't have been able to do that.
Thoughtseize is great. And, the
Now
worst
he
thing you
can
can do
eat
right
it.
now is actually play a Thoughtseize, because then it could come back again.
So activate this, and now David Ochoa gets to eat up the Abrupt Decay here.
Yep, he's going to exile that Abrupt Decay and leave
He's going to leave
floating.
green floating.
Uh-oh.
He finds Liliana Pulse.
Liliana, not a big deal because he has Sigarda,
But
which stops him from sacrificing creatures.
all of them.
Yes.
Correct.
So
This is insane.
this is really fascinating.
How is Ochoa here?
Ochoa just the right card sitting off Tasker to allow him to survive. However, in response to Liliana, Ochoa eats the Siege Rhino. Liliana goes up and they both discard. Of course, both of them have
Redundant
useless cards.
junk. Sean probably doesn't want that Thoughtseize, but he doesn't want it in his yard either.
So the amazing thing about Liliana is Liliana's ultimate is that a player splits their cards.
Yes.
And then sacrifices half of them. But Sigarda prevents sacrificing of all permanents.
Yes.
Liliana is a virtual do-nothing here.
It is
all it's doing is
nothing.
eating hands.
Hilarious.
And Ochoa has nothing in his hand.
This is hilarious.
This is really, really neat to watch.
And this is a second copy of Fulminator Mage, which could also represent another gain in life here. And he's going to take out the Tech Edge, which is going to keep that Stirring Wildwood safe.
That draw looked a lot better than it was. Or
Now-
looked a lot worse than it was. It was actually great there.
Well, what if Sean finds like a Gavany Township now? Is that...
That's huge.
I guess activating the Township once it'd already be enough, though, to make it fearsome, so...
Exactly. Once his creatures become superior, he can start attacking. Although that Scavenging Ooze is now the big one.
6/6. Yeah, maybe not. Ooh. Damnation or a Rhino? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, and he's going to give him the Damnation.
Wow.
Maybe Ochoa is thinking that he has a Thoughtseize in his hand, but it's going to have to get discarded now. There it goes. So we're going to see the Scavenging Ooze fire off a little bit here.
Well,
He's not going
don't
to
eat the
exile
Thoughtseize.
Nope, he's going to exile the... And is he going to eat his own Fulminator Mage to gain a life? Looks like maybe he's going to
Conventional Wisdom says yes.
Yep. And he will. He looks in there and spots the Fulminator. Ochoa getting out of Rhino range.
You the real MVP. Scavenging Ooze is completely kept David Ochoa in this game.
It's amazing to see just those two cards do such work.
Apparently David has assembled the combo. Wow, he's cracking a fetch here too?
He's got so much life he can just crack fetches now, you know? Yeah, so I think what we're going to see next turn is a Damnation.
Yes.
But it's possibly not the case because Sean McLaren still has Tassiger firing off every turn, so maybe he just needs to hold on to it. Damnation does kill Sigarda, which is stopping his Liliana, so what probably makes sense is he can keep ticking Liliana up so that once he does Damnation, he has the ability to immediately ultimate Liliana. So Ochoa's still in the back seat here, despite his incredible holding on.
Yeah, his heroics have not yielded him a victory as of yet. McLaren still applying huge pressure, and that Damnation is a real issue. It looks like Ochoa has actually decided if he wants to attack Liliana here.
Wow. So McLaren can block with a Spirit token if he wants to keep Liliana. And Ochoa's life total being so low.
Yeah, he just dies. Like, assuming he has nothing, he's just dead there.
Well, the Scavenging Ooze can gain him life if there's a creature, but there's not, right?
Right, because the Spirit's just going to get immediately exiled. Ah, there is a creature, though.
There's a creature. Ochoa agrees. So many dead cards from Sean McLaren suddenly.
It was another Liliana.
Another Liliana, he destroyed Inquisition and Kozilek. Sean has to be thinking, like, how can I lose this game?
Oh, they got a little over a minute left in the round, GCB, so as much as we like to watch these grindy matchups, this one is taking a while. And like you said before, McLaren just doesn't feel the need to rush that Damnation since he's got an active Tasigur going.
And an active Liliana, which will get better and better as soon as the damnation resolves. And if it's able to ultimate immediately, Ochoa losing half his lands and all of his creatures, it's going to be hard for him to win. And Ochoa being down a game, really to get anything out of this round, he has to win this game.
Yeah.
It's funny, all those thought seizes he drew earlier, he might actually be okay now.
Yeah.
You take away that
I think
damnation.
he'd actually like to see a Thoughtseize here, though a way to deal with Tasigur wouldn't be bad either.
That's certainly true. We don't know what Ocho drew, but he's considering how to handle it. Ooh, Zealous Persecution.
Zealous Persecution is going to kill the Spirit token on the other side, and that is going to allow David to actually just kill Liliana here, since the
actually
Sigard
for
is
7.
6, and then another one for 7, so insurance even.
Okay, so now...
But Ochoa is in a precarious spot, to say the least.
Especially given the amount of time left in the round.
Yes.
Although it looks like now what he can do is he can force the damnation and hope that he draws better off the top, because he's going to be able to get in with Sigarda in the air.
So that die at the bottom, GCB?
That's the number of turns?
Correct.
Okay.
So we're in turn 1. More action here from Sean McLaren. He's got a Lingering Souls. He's even got a replacement Liliana.
Well, Liliana, as we've
All
noted,
he needed was
is not
spot
doing much.
removal here, and he just finishes this thing off. But
I think the Lingering Souls should be enough to buy him a couple of turns, especially with that Zealous Persecution in the graveyard instead of on the top of Ochoa's deck, where it was last turn.
oh, he's actually going to just fire off the Damnation here. Is this a play because he knows that Ochoa, the onus is on Ochoa to actually kill Sean over the next few turns, and that Ochoa is going to have a hard time managing that, given that McLaren's up a game? He would win the match if this was a draw.
Yeah, Ochoa only has 2 draws left, so I can't imagine what he could draw here that's in these decks that's going to allow him to do that.
Yeah, not even Siege Rhinos do that.
No, not with Sean at 15. And Sean also, after this, is going to follow up with Lingering Souls. He's going to have chump blockers for anything big, and can also threaten David Ochoa's life total, and he can probably win on the 5th turn here. David draws nothing. Although the Stirring Wildwood is still an issue.
Yeah, Lingering Souls coming down here for Sean is going to be big.
Yeah. You can see David taking some time, doing some exiling, Scavenging Ooze. And there is Lingering Souls. Oh, Ochoa put up such a great fight here, but it looks like he's not going to make it.
Yeah. Turn 2.
Sean McLaren, even with the edge on the extra turns, he gets the last turn. McLaren wants to get the nice clean victory. He has the opportunity here to just attack with both spirits. Have one eaten by the Stirring Wildwood. Flashback Lingering Souls. And then if he draws a removal spell, he'll have 3 power to kill it next turn.
Right. There's Wildwood jumping in front of a Spirit. And Abrupt Decay to kill the other, because Ochoa is fighting the good fight here. But it does seem that Sean McLaren will be our victor.
Certainly not enough time left for David Ochoa to win 2 games.
Is he going to get a chance to kill a Wildwood here with Liliana? It doesn't happen too often, but there it is. And there's Lingering Soul. So both players playing as if the clock weren't a factor, though it is. We're in turn 4 here.
It certainly is.
And Sean can actually draw Gavany Township and just win here, right?
He could, yeah. Or Siege Rhino, of course.
They're going to take a tie. And that's going to do it. Ochoa, you can see the look on his face. Not super thrilled with that. Sean, quite thrilled with it, actually. It's never good, when you're sit down in your very first match and you're like, oh, David Ochoa, great.